Good evening, good evening, good evening, my sisters, and
Good
good evening.
evening.
Good evening, and good evening to all of you that are tuned in today. This is the Women to Women show on the New You Nation Network, and we are so excited to be here yet again for another Monday night when we are going to have what we hope to be, and we know will be a very interesting but helpful conversation to each and every one of you. But before we get started, we're going to open as we normally do. We're going to go around, we're going to introduce ourselves, and we're going to each say what we are grateful for because gratitude is important, especially in this topic that we're going to talk tonight. So, who wants to start?
I will start. I am grateful for the power of healing. I am grateful for those medical hands that even when things are difficult, they will find a way. I think a lot of people have the perception that our medical professionals sometimes when there's one diagnosis after another and one treatment after another and nothing seems to work or what was working before is no longer working, they're blaming it on those medical professionals, the clinicians, that they don't know what they're doing. But the human body and the human mind is so complex that you cannot dismiss the advances that we've made in medicine over the years through trial and error that allow people to get up from a hospital bed, to get up from a doctor's chair, to say, I am well. So
Yes.
that is what I am grateful for today.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Regina?
Yes, I am grateful for our sisterhood. So whenever there's a need, we can come into prayer and come into agreement that it is all well and that we come together collectively, happy, sad, or whatever, and come in agreement. So I'm grateful for that.
Nice.
That's awesome. My name is Manetta Fields. I'm going to intro myself. I'm the owner of Holistically Motivated LLC, where I am an educator, helping us to learn better ways, strategies, and tips to take care of ourselves using natural solutions. I'm real big on using what God gave us. And combining that, of course, with conventional therapies, there's nothing wrong with that. But when we can control what we can control, we have a better outcome because of it. So I am grateful that God gave us plants as medicine to help us be well. The things, like I said, we can control so that we are better on the other side of it.
Yes. And my name is Theodora Carter. I am the owner of T. Carter Coaching and Consulting. I help women, I empower women to change their lives and seek and live a life of harmony. And I also help small businesses that need HR support. And so I'm an HR consultant. So I am excited to be here tonight. I am grateful for you ladies. I am grateful for yet another day. I am grateful, Netta, for the plants as well and all that we're going to learn tonight about the plants and how and just being using some of the natural elements that God has provided for us will be much better for our bodies. So, I'm gonna kick it off because I think last week the topic was so good that I didn't want it to end, right? And then Netta, dropped a nugget like she usually does, and she was like, "Are you interested or are you committed?" Right? And right, and last week, what were we talking about? I can't even remember. I just remember that part of the conversation, right? But I know last week, I think we were talking about just, also being healthy and, how important that is. And so tonight's conversation, I think, is going to be a very interesting conversation because it's about living holistically motivated, right?
Mm.
And you know, I didn't realize when I chose the topic that is actually your business, so it's gonna be great. But I think why that's important, because for me, the first thing I thought about is, okay, what does that mean,
Mm-hmm.
right, to each individual, right?
Mm-hmm.
Living holistically motivated may mean something different to everybody, right? So I'm gonna go around and ask you guys, what does it mean when you hear living holistically motivated?
I'll start. Well, holistically motivated meaning, you know, the best part of your life. But picking up from last week, what I did notice, Netta gave us a challenge. So it chimes in with a living holistically motivated. We all clutched our pearls when she said, let's not put the, what was it, put the phone down. Or
It was to
Using the
it was
phone
to
2 hours.
disengage. It was to disengage by
yes, yes,
9:30, right?
yes.
From your electronic
But
devices.
I have to admit, I did not look at my phone as much. And I was so not, I was calm.
Mhm.
See, I love it.
And it's funny because I meant to ask each and everybody, because remember we were supposed to say
Yeah.
how we did.
I have that at the end.
Okay.
Oh man, I was going to start with that. But
Where's my pearls?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Look, this conversation is good already. Go ahead.
okay. So that started it out because I did notice that, you know, because I do practice, you know, with the different types of things that I try to do. I try to breathe. I'm trying not to use so many different things. I read labels, try not to have so things I can't pronounce. I'm like, well, what is that?
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And even with my foods, I try my best to try to not eat so many boxed in quick things.
Process.
Really, yeah, it's really hard when you're, but I'm trying to, and that's unlearning, like unlearning things. Because when I grew up, my mom cooked, you know, but and now as we go on, you just get into this busy, busy life. But that's what it means to me. It's just try to do the things as naturally as you can.
Yeah. I would say for me, it's really, especially, you know, as I get more into my coaching business and working with women, right? And just trying to create what I'm trying to help other women create, right, in my life, which is how it all started, which is harmony, right? Is really recognizing, focusing and being intentional about the various areas of my life, right? So emotionally, spiritually, physically, right, mentally, and how each of those things is something different, although they may sound the same, right? Like there's a different component to each of them. But like Regina said, like when you said that night, like the first night, and we're gonna talk about it later, but the first night I was like, I got this. I was committed, right? And then by the next day, I was interested, trying to get back to being committed, right? But I will honestly say, like, I actually, you know, to the point you were making about what you put in your body, right? Like I had stopped eating pork and beef like years ago, right? And so now I'm trying to wean myself off of chicken, and I eat mostly like a pescatarian. But I literally found, and I'm not trying to advertise for anybody, but I literally found this app called Yuka, Yuka. And it's amazing because you can scan the labels of foods when you're in the supermarket. And the crazy thing is the things that you may think is good are good for you.
Come on with that.
Are not, like, because it gives you a rating, right? It'll say excellent, good, poor, and I'll scan some things and I'll be like one, I'm shocked because now I got to kind of get prepared for, am I going to continue to eat this thing that I've been eating that I thought was good for me, or am I going to navigate away from it? So like you, I've been trying to eat more fresh vegetables and foods and stuff like that. But that's what being holistically motivated to me really means, focusing on my total like well-being.
I have to actually go way back, you know, when I was in my 20s and, you know, first starting out my professional career. And I started to feel a pain on my left backside. and couldn't figure out what, for the life of me, what it was. And I went to my doctor, and my doctor was an elderly Indian man. And and the minute that I started to tell him what my symptoms were, he diagnosed me immediately. And he was absolutely correct. I had a kidney infection. Put me in the hospital. And it was just amazing to me that he was just able, just by conversation, right? He didn't have to send me for any tests. He automatically knew what the symptoms were, right? And then afterwards, he would tell me, some natural remedies, right, to help with that, aside from making sure that I'm drinking my water and staying hydrated. And even fast forward to a couple of years ago when I was diagnosed with something, and one of my physicians said, here's what you have to do. She said, use some unrefined coconut oil, right? That will be tremendous. That will help out. We're just such in a society where you kind of forget that if you go back to nature, which is where we all started from, that while we have all of the modern conveniences, there's something to be said about what our parents' parents, what our parents' parents' parents use. And I think, I slowly kind of sort of want to get back into that. I am still in a mode where everything has to be quick, fast, and convenient. So it's easy to grab it off the shelf, but I am more cognizant with it. So I do try to at least balance it out. If I'm going to get something, if I'm going to grab those chips, then I better be drinking water along with the chips. Do I get enough water as I should? No. But, being holistically motivated is thinking from the inside out. Knowing that what you put in your body is what comes out. I look at the fact that, the skin, we all have the beautiful skin. We talk about black don't crack. Well, there's a lot that actually goes into it. So I make sure that at least what I put on my face and my body is as close to being all natural as is. I buy from vendors who make their own products. And then you have to be careful. But at least I'm trying to make sure that I'm nourishing my skin the correct way. But it's starting from the inside out.
Yeah. And it's so too, because the other thing is, right, I'm just going to say it, right? Most people they're looking at us right now and they don't realize that we're all 50 plus. Like 50 plus, like 55, 57, 58, like 50s, right? And but we don't look it, right? And so a part of that is because of how you take care of yourself from the inside out. And like you said, we're not always perfect. We're getting it done, but when you balance it out, right, it makes a difference. But I want to talk a little bit about essential oils, right? Like I don't care which one you use, but I know recently I'm always, I don't know, I'm a little bit of a klutz, so I'm always hitting myself on something. And I did something to my foot, right, which was killing me. And back in the day, my normal reaction would be to just pop Tylenol or pills until years ago, I ended up with really high liver enzymes. And it was because I had been taking too much Tylenol, right?
Yes.
And so what I ended up doing is I took out my essential oils, which also I have like a rub and whatever. And I began every night, just putting that every night and every morning, putting it on my foot and then stretching in my foot, right? And like today I was like, oh, wait a minute, my foot feels better. So, I want to talk about that. Like, if any of you use essential oils, how you use it, if you use other natural herbs, how you use them, like to cook, like, I know people are into just like using natural herbs and stuff like that.
Well, I'm all about essential oils. That's what I educate on. That's what our family uses for every single thing. We've replaced everything in our home with an essential oil based product. Everything.
So could you talk a little bit about that, Netta? Like that process how you started and got there?
So I started off because our son was having some respiratory challenges. He was diagnosed when he was 2 years old. And we did the conventional therapies until he was 15. So that's 13 years of that. And it was a vicious cycle. We weren't coming out of it. It was the same thing over and over and over. And you know what they say about that.
Yeah.
Right? So I knew something different had to happen. So I have over 30 years of healthcare experience. And I was doing that, but I also knew, wait a minute, there's no CVS and Walgreens in the garden. It ain't in my Bible. So let me go back to the beginning and see if I can do something to support him naturally. And so once we did that, he's not had one medication since.
Wow.
Not one. So of course my mind is like, oh, wait, if it works for that, then certainly it's going to work for something else.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there are so many wonderful properties found in plants. And our bodies know what to do with it. Therefore, you don't have the elevated liver enzymes and things like that. Your body can process it. And interestingly enough, those plant compounds will go into your body and find where the deficiency is. It's crazy, but it really does work. I see somebody posted clean products work. They sure do.
Yeah.
And everything is not clean. And I also wanted to share a study that I read. So we know you can get oils everywhere, right?
Yeah.
You can get them at the dollar store. You can get them at Target. You can get them even at Disney.
Yeah.
But they're not all created equal. So that's the caution part. Know that you want to put something pure. If you're going to use it, make sure it's pure. And even if it's labeled that's not necessarily the case. Going back to your app, right? So I wanted to share that the study, it was by the Aromatic Plant Research Center. And they are all about studying plant matter and how it responds, how the body responds to it. So 26 brands of birch essential oil. Okay. They studied every one of the brands. And how about this? Every one of them said 100% pure birch oil. They found not one drop of birch oil in the bottle. 26. So with that being said, be mindful of that. And should you be interested in knowing more, certainly you can reach out. I've done the homework, so you don't have to. So we can talk about that. But I want to go back to the holistically motivated question because I want to weigh in on that. So I have here, it's a great topic. And I feel that each of us can define it for ourselves, as you said, Theo, and strive to achieve it. We're unique, so our process is going to be unique. Okay. So in the medical community, one definition for holistic is it's characterized by the treatment of the whole person, taking into account mental and social factors rather than just symptoms of an illness. It said, I have here, I feel that it can cross over into encompassing life itself as we're mindful of the physical, the spiritual, and the emotional well-being. If we neglect or dismiss any of those components, I feel that our wholeness is challenged. So in speaking about motivated, it's defined as stimulating someone's interest in or enthusiasm for doing something. So holistically motivated is to have interest, desire, drive, to enthusiastically, intentionally, and consistently give attention and support and time to the whole you, mind, body, soul, or mental, physical, spiritual, however you choose to define that. So natural solutions is all about taking care of the whole you. And there is something for each of those areas that I just mentioned. I have here, we know that motivation can wax and wane. So let's piggyback on something we said already, interested versus committed. My question to each of you is this: regarding your daily choices that support a holistically well version of yourself, would you say you're committed or interested? Why or why not?
I will say for me, most days I'm committed, right? Like there's a commitment, like I'm committed to being like healthy and holistic, because one, I was talking to someone recently, right? I have longevity in my family, especially on my dad's side of the family. Like my grandmother, the year she passed would have been 100. I have a 98-year-old aunt, I have 94, and they all like. I sometimes I'm like, okay, y'all making me look bad, right? My 94-year-old aunt still bowls in a league, right? And so for me, I'm committed to being healthy, but also it's because of my journey, right? Because I used to, like when I was in my 20s, I was very heavy. I lost my weight using Weight Watchers. I maintained my weight. I was a Weight Watchers leader. So, you know what to do, right? But the other side of it is I feel like the one lesson I had to learn was not to beat myself up.
Oh yeah.
Because I think the other thing that people try to do is say, they get up and say, today, I'm like with me, the struggle is sleep, right? For me to say, okay, now I'm going to totally like have my devices cut off at 9:30 and be in bed at this certain time is unrealistic, right? So I might say, okay, I'm going to try this week to at least do that 2 or 3 times this week. And then as I gradually continue to do it, I'm going to get to the point where I'm doing it consistently, right? So I would say that's why I would say 90 to 95% of the time I'm committed, but I also leave room for the days when there's going to be a slip.
Commitment is not perfection.
Right, exactly. Right. And so I think that is that's another important part of that. Are you interested or committed? Because I think what happens is when the one thing that kills all of us is that sense of failure. Right. So how do you balance? First of all, how do you recognize that failure is necessary to be successful?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Failure is necessary. You have to fail. That's what makes you better. But also you have to it has to be a balance. So I would say probably 90 to 95% of the time I'm committed.
And you're doing that to
I'm
support
doing that to be healthy, right? I want to mentally, because I was heavy, lost weight, and I know the difference between how my body and energy feels when I am healthy, when I'm eating right, when I'm exercising, when I'm getting enough sleep, when I'm taking care of my mental health, right? Like you all, I've said this many of times, I'm not ashamed of it. I have a therapist, and it's not because right now I'm in any type of depressive mode. My therapist is part of my preventative care, right? And so for me, it's because I do want to be holistically healthy, right? And so that's what keeps me holistically motivated. Because I want to live. I truly believe we can live a life of harmony, right? And I think that's taking control of those areas that are most important in your life.
For sure. Who else wants to respond to that? Committed or interested in your holistic well-being, and why or why not?
Well, I'm committed. I am committed. I would say definitely most recently in the last 3 or 4 months, I have been definitely committed. Like Theo, it's just one day at a time, one change at a time. Um, Going through the whole, like 2022 was definitely a really rough year for me. With it being a rough year, it also made me have to rethink some things and say, hey, something has to change. So it has to change spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. So it's not about the weight loss. It's about a whole total change of me, for to be the best part of me, for God, for my kids, for my family, for whoever God has me to be there for. So,
I mean, I think that's important. And I know Sheila's going to go next, but I think that's the one thing we forget, right? Like if we're not taking care of ourselves, we can't take care of anybody else.
That's it. You're muted, Sheila.
She don't hear you. She got it. You're on mute, Sheila.
Oh, I thought I took myself off. Okay, now we go. All right. Full disclosure, I think more about being committed than I actually am. So I am most days extremely interested. Some days I am committed. It's a learning process. You look at the benefits to it, and you do think the longevity. I want to be around for my grandkids and if possibly great grandkids. But there's some days when that burger with French fries looks good to me, and I don't feel like going to walk it off. But it's one of those things. You know what you have to do, and the fact that it never leaves my mind tells me that even if I'm going the other way, that I still can travel down that path.
Yes.
But that's important because I will guys tell you I would honestly say when I did Weight Watchers, right? When I did that, I was on 5 days and I was on 6 days and off one, right? So every week I had that day where I was gonna just treat myself, right? I call it a treat day, not a cheat day. And what I found the longer I did it was that even when I thought I was having a treat, it tended to be a healthy treat. Or even if I was eating something that like was because my favorite foods are like pizza and that kind of stuff, right? But even then, like instead of sitting down and eating like 2 or 3 slices of pizza, I would have, a slice of pizza with maybe a salad, right? Or I'd be like, okay, I know that this week I want to have some ice cream, right? So I think part of it is also that mindfulness.
Yep, awareness.
Preparing and planning for it. Right? But the biggest thing for me, it became like you said, Sheila, like just recognizing it's a journey, right? It's not gonna happen overnight. So you can't like beat yourself up. Like if you have a day when you're off, because there are some days I get up and I'll be like, today, you know what? This is what I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna have me a nice big breakfast. I'm gonna make some pancakes and this and that and that. And then I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna get this latte with some pumpkin spice in it. And I know it's probably gonna be a sugar rush. But then I'm like, I got 6 more days to cancel all of that out.
Yeah, that sugar conversation it's in the works for today as well. So thank you all for that. If you were to video yourself for segments of your day, what are 3 things we would see you doing that would provide evidence of your commitment or your interest?
3
things. 3 segments of your day, because I'm trying to help us first of all shift the mindset. This awareness is key to that, and it will help you see whether you're further along than you thought you were, or if you need to do a little more work in certain areas and where those areas are. So it's all about just getting clear on how we're doing today, because we know we can make changes in that.
I mean, so I would say for me is one, definitely it is I thinking about what I'm going to eat, right? So, like finding healthy substitutes. Like now, I do roasted chickpeas, right? As a snack, right? I usually have a green juice smoothie of some type, right? But I would say the real thing for me, as you guys know, I work out at minimum 6 days a week. Right? Because I love to spin. I have a Peloton, and for me, I think what's showing me right now that I'm committed is I'm trying different things on the bike, because the Peloton has a wealth of things you can do on there. And I was always that person was like, oh, I can't do yoga. I don't like yoga. I'm not going to do yoga. Right. And now I'm trying like a beginner yoga program, right, on the bike. I'm doing an endurance program that they have, right, to really get my endurance up, because I usually just get on and ride. I've always, I stopped drinking like soda and juice and stuff years ago. So the majority of what I put in my body is just water. But even thinking about how I cook, like the other day I made some pancakes using Bob Mills gluten-free whatever pancakes, but I was like, how can I make this pancake enticing? And so I use because like you said, the oils are different, right? But the oils I use, some of them you can use and eat and put in your food. So
Right.
I put a couple of drops of lemon,
Mm.
right? And my pancakes were like these had this lemony taste,
Nice.
right? And so I think that's how I know right now I'm committed, because I really am thinking more like Trader Joe has become like the main place I shop, right? Now that's like my favorite place to go shopping. So I'm really thinking about what I'm buying, whether or not stuff is organic or not. And just and the last part of it where I really know I'm committed is when I get the sleep thing right.
Yes.
Because the sleep thing is the last part of the puzzle that people don't realize. If you don't get the appropriate amount of sleep,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Everything's impacted.
you're out of whack.
Mm-hmm. For
Yeah.
sure. So you spoke about exercise, food, and sleep.
Mhm.
So that's important because most people think of just food
Mhm.
when you're talking about a holistic approach to wellness.
Mhm.
Think about food and water and exercise, right? Thank you for throwing that sleep in there because that's when our bodies repair. When we're
But that also is where your energy comes from. Like
sleeping. For
literally,
sure.
I feel it. I feel like the difference at that
Mm-hmm.
certain part of the day. I'm like, I might need to go lay down on the floor and take a nap, right? 'Cause right? Like I feel my eyes getting heavy, and so it's real. It definitely,
Mm-hmm.
and also because when you've done something before,
Right.
because
Mm-hmm.
I know how it feels to be. For 8 years, I was like excellent health.
Mm.
Like my body was toned and my energy level was high, and I was doing all of the things that I just talked about, right? I was getting
Mm.
at least 7 hours of sleep. I was eating well. I was exercising. So all of those things were all aligned
Mm-hmm.
the way they should have been.
Mm.
So I'm just trying to get back to that.
Sure. You had
Especially
evidence of it.
approaching, 57, and I feel like I'm closer to 60. So I just want to roll into 60 being at the best health possible.
Awesome. All right, Regina or Sheila, what would we see you doing throughout those segments of the day?
Well, mine actually starts first thing in the morning. I no longer just jump out of bed when it's time for me to get ready, right?
Mm.
Even though I'm not at the point now where I sleep through the night. What I don't do is immediately get up out of bed. I
Mhm.
use that time, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 20 minutes that I'm awake. I use that time to just gather my thoughts to kind of relax my brain
Mhm.
before I start my day, because I know the day is going to be hectic from that point on, especially
Mhm.
traffic, right? I also drink, I'm a coffee drinker, right? But I drink my coffee black.
Mm,
No
mm.
sugar, no creamer. Look, and I used to be one of those that had coffee with my creamer,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yep.
Right. And it had to be sweetened creamer. And I just start again, talk about baby steps. I
There you go.
started out by minimizing the amount of sugar
Mhm.
to the point where I no longer required sugar. But I
Mhm.
like that creamy taste of the coffee. So I still had my cream. And then slowly, as I started discovering different coffees, because it's like, hey, there's Maxwell House and Zinc and all that stuff. But as I started discovering that coffee is really an art, I started kind of refining my palate, and I like the bold taste of it. So the bolder it is, the less bitter it is to me. So
Mm.
from there, I was able to actually start drinking my coffee black. So it has to be a good quality coffee. So I don't just drink any kind of coffee.
Mhm.
So I drink it black. And the third thing that I do throughout the day is, because I know I don't get up. I have a sedentary job, so I don't get up often enough, but I take the long way to the bathroom.
Mhm.
So at least I'm getting some extra steps in
Yes.
throughout the day.
I love that.
Nice.
I love that. It's the little things.
Yeah.
Little things do add up.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And
All
one
right,
of the things he said, I didn't want to get one of those like big gallon jugs of water to
Yeah.
guarantee that, because I knew that if I did that, I would get up less to get water.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
That's a
nice.
great
That's
strategy.
a good point.
Great strategies. I
Yeah.
love it. Yes, Regina.
Yes. So, like Sheila, when I get up in the morning, I don't jump straight up. Typically, like at least 3 days out of the week, I do gather my thoughts. But my favorite thing to say, Lord, I stretch my hands to thee. No other help do I know.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, and I think I got that from my mom. I sit here and say that all the time. So
Mm-hmm.
I try to say that. And then I drink a bottle of water
Mm-hmm.
to ensure that I at least get one down. Water is still a challenge. So
Mm-hmm.
I get that. And I put my oils on.
Yes.
Yes.
Come through with the oils. I'm
Oh,
telling you,
yeah.
it sets the tone.
Yes. There's one I put on my chest, man, every
Mhm.
day. Right?
Yes, I love that. So here we go with the 2 words, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to throw 2 more words out, and I'd love to hear your responses. Keep in mind, this is regarding your health and well-being. Spend versus invest.
Mm.
So let me frame it for you.
Mm-hmm.
In supporting us as women and making choices that impact our health today and in the future, because we're talking about generational impact. We know that the people around us are watching. Why not have a health impact as well? Because we know that health is wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I want us to have a goal, as I do, of closing the gap between health span and lifespan.
Mm-hmm.
So lifespan, of course, is how long you live. Health span is how well you live in those years.
Yep.
How well, what's the quality of life in those years? So we want to close the gap. So when I educate and create customized strategies to follow and share that we need to do this for a few months, but people are like, what? Months? Few months? What you mean a few months? Invest in your health every month. Who does that, right? So it's rare that an investment is received with pushback. The mindset around taking care of ourselves before there's damage, to the extent that there are symptoms, is often closed. And that baffles me. There's money to spend on things, but not money to spend on a better quality of life. Have you ever found yourself with this type of mindset where you don't have a problem spending, that favorite drink or picking up stuff at Target you don't even need? That's spending because there's no return on that. But investing in natural solutions that's going to help you live a better quality life, people are like, I don't know about that part. What's your thoughts on that?
I will say honestly, for me, I like that's for me important, right? Like, so you see, I invested in Peloton, right? Before I had the Peloton, I invested in gym memberships, right? I invest in the food that I eat. I'll spend more money for quality food. I invest monthly to get the oils that I use, right? And for my body, right? But also I can relate because being a coach, I often say the same thing, right? People are quick to invest in things, but they don't invest in something that will make them better, right? And themselves, right? So what was important for me is like when I invested in coaching, right? Me investing in coaching, it just expanded my view of how I was living and motivated me to change, right, my life and live the life I want to desire. So for me, I would say I'm quick to invest in myself. Like 2022 was a year of investing in my business. Like I intentionally was like, I'm going into 2022. This is an investment in my businesses, right? And growing them. But like, I think I've always been one to invest more in myself than I am. Like I buy, don't get me wrong. I buy stuff, right? But I also will find things. I'm not trying to give the designers all my money to advertise and give them free advertisement. Right? That's another thing. But for me, I think investment is key because I think it ends up, for me, it's investing in my mind, my body, right? And just,
Mhm.
how I
Holistically.
want to live. Like, there's a peace that comes with taking care of yourself,
Yes.
and living the way you want to live.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for that. I know you invest. 'Cause we've had some sessions, so I know you invest. But some people see that as a waste. They would rather flex, what other people can see outside versus taking care of.
But I think it's also because of this microwave society we live in.
Mhm.
Mm,
Right? Like when you talked about people like, oh, I got to invest in that for 6 months. Because you have people that be like, oh, I want to lose 30 pounds in 3 weeks. Right? And you're like, that's not realistic.
right.
And you practically kill yourself to do that, but then you don't sustain it.
It's not sustainable.
And so I will say the one thing I learned from being a Weight Watchers leader, and I used to say this to my members, right? Losing the weight, and I lost my weight like very like small increments, right?
Mhm.
But that was better for me because
Yeah.
that I had enough time to maintain the habits,
That's it.
right? So yeah, but I think that whole thing, part of it is that microwave society. People
Mm.
just really are like, oh, I'm only going to invest in this for this amount of time, and if it doesn't work in this amount of time, this 30 days, I'm done. But not everything is going to happen in 30 days.
Right.
Mhm.
It didn't take 30 days to arrive at where you are.
Exactly.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, Regina, Sheila, jump in.
Well, I'll jump in. So, yeah, I invest in myself and I invest in things. And now I'm investing in myself with purpose.
Mm.
So
Purposeful
I
investment.
say, I used to
Say that again. Say that again.
invest in myself with purpose.
Mhm.
Because I used to invest in myself and invest in things and then invest in myself, didn't do none of the things that so it was both ways of throwing away money. So now I invest in myself and use the things that come with investing in myself.
I
Mhm.
love
Use
it.
the
Love
tools,
it.
because I'm quick to go buy something and stick it in the corner and not use it. So
Mhm.
you're still
Mm.
wasting. So
Right.
now I just use it and say, and I don't do the clothes as much. I actually took some things back because I was looking at my budget and I said, now which one do I want to take back?
Mhm.
So I took the clothes back because
That's
I'm like,
real
I
talk
really
though.
don't
Those
want
clothes,
it.
they not gonna make you healthy.
But
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing people forget about that holistic piece.
Uh-huh.
Includes financial freedom.
Yes,
Mhm.
it does.
Mhm.
Holistic. Come on, Professor, as Trey would say.
Yes. Come on, Professor.
Theo hit it for me. I am investing in my peace.
Mm,
I need to have peace of mind. I need to have peace of thought, and I need to have peace of heart. So
Mhm.
those all are intertwined for me.
mm,
And and like I said, if I feel guilty about what I may or may not have eaten, then I try to make a habit of at least trying to balance it out the next day or a few hours later, making
mhm,
sure to get back on track. And that's what I keep telling myself. You can always get back on track. This is not the
mhm,
end all. It's not the be all. There's no
mhm.
need in punishing yourself. Give
Right.
yourself grace and give yourself peace
Mhm.
of mind, knowing that you can always fly straight.
Mhm.
Mhm. But
And
I mean, but that what's important is life happens,
Mhm.
right? And so as we live life, you're not gonna always be 100% at
right.
anything that you do. So life happens. The important thing is you try to plan as much as possible, right? So like whenever I'm setting a goal or I'm thinking about doing something, I think about what is the thing that's gonna might get in my way,
Mhm,
right? And so, like, I know this week I'm traveling for a couple of days, right? So I'm already thinking about how my eating, right? Because I know where I'm going. I'm gonna be hanging with my girls. We're gonna probably be having dinner or whatever. So I'm already thinking about how do I do that in a way that I stay on track,
mhm.
but I also enjoy myself because
Exactly.
it's also about joy. Having peace is also about enjoying yourself.
Exactly. Yep, for sure. So I just want us to be mindful not to prioritize stuff
Mm-hmm.
over our well-being.
Yeah.
So with Valentine's Day on the horizon, many will either buy chocolate for themselves or will be gifted some.
Mm-hmm.
I want to share this information with you that I placed in my private education group.
Mm-hmm.
It's from Consumer Reports. Recently, they measured the amount of heavy metals in 28 dark chocolate bars from Hershey's, Lindt,
Wow.
Dove, Godiva, Ghirardelli, and more.
What about milk chocolate?
Same. It's not just, I mean, let's say chocolate.
Okay.
They studied dark chocolate, but we know it's the same company, same
Yeah.
conveyor belt, same, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one just has less cacao than the other. But anyway, they detected cadmium and lead in all of them. It says only 5 bars came in below California's maximum allowable dose level. And y'all got to keep in mind, allowable dose level is dependent upon how much you're eating, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're eating a little bit, you at the allowable dose. But if you're eating a whole lot, you're over it.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. A company called MAST, M-A-S-T, organic dark chocolate, had the lowest levels of lead and cadmium. Hershey Special Dark, mildly sweet, had the most lead.
Mm.
Trader Joe's dark chocolate lovers, 85% cacao, had the most cadmium. The article states, and I'm quoting, "That's risky stuff. Consistent long-term exposure to even small amounts of heavy metals can lead to a variety of health problems. The danger is greatest for pregnant people and young children because the metals can cause developmental problems affecting brain development, leading to low IQ," says Tunde Akinle, the Consumer Reports food safety researcher who led this testing product. He states, but there are risks for people of any age. Frequent exposure to lead in adults, for example, leads to nervous system problems, hypertension, immune system suppression, kidney damage, and reproductive issues. While most people don't eat dark chocolate every day, 15% do, according to market research firm Mintel. Even if you aren't a frequent consumer of chocolate, lead and cadmium are still a concern. So, y'all, it's not, you really have to know what you're eating.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm glad that I'm not a real big chocolate person, but
that
you
just
do.
leads
But,
us into other
that's
areas.
just one product.
This is one example,
Exactly.
right?
There's so many other things like that.
That's
Well,
why,
and you get back to the marketing, the savviness of marketing, because you have the companies and the advertising agencies telling us that dark chocolate is what's best for you.
there it is.
We're not thinking about the fact that it's being manufactured in a place in mass, and that there's so many enhancements to it, whether that's intentional or accidental as a byproduct of the manufacturing.
Right. I see a question.
So here,
Karen,
I was going to say, I see a question, right? So I love this question too. What should we eat as a guilty pleasure food if no chocolate? So what
I
do you
didn't
guys
say no
snack on?
chocolate. Remember, at the beginning of the conversation, they listed a brand that was clean. That's key. And
Okay.
that's, I love this question because it's usually the response we get when somebody tells us, what?
So what's the brand that they mentioned?
M-A-S-T, MAST.
M-A-S-T. So there's MAST.
MAST organic.
Organic.
So, but I love that because, you know, in helping people along the way, our mind will default to, wait a minute, that means I can't have anything.
Mm-hmm. And but also I think it's a great question too, because it also speaks to how do you have healthy snacks? Like remember I said I do chickpeas, right?
Yes.
To replace that crunchy feel, right?
Yes.
So it's also how do you identify
Clean options.
like for Charles, who would like to know if he can still have fudge on his ice cream. Right?
A clean option. Look for mass organic, right? Of course, there are other options. And this is the stuff I love to do research on. So y'all connect with me. You're going to find out some better options.
But that's the truth. I'm just gonna say it, right? Like, Netta, you and I have had some sessions. I'll be like, this is going on. What can I use, right? And you tell me, and it works. But you have to be consistent.
You have to be consistent.
You do.
You have to, again, know what labeling, that marketing thing Sheila was, it's so slick and it's intended to confuse.
So, but it's like that app I told you about. Like, you think you're out here choosing all these healthy foods. Now, I know the people in the supermarket be like, what this girl doing? She's scanning every little item she take off the shelf. But it has been eye-opening for me.
Yes.
Right? It's amazing how many things I have put back on the shelf.
Yes.
Because I'm like, I thought I was doing my body a favor eating this.
Awareness.
And I actually wasn't.
And I think that's why this conversation we're having is so important. And I appreciate Karen's question and her thought process, because that's what most of us feel. It's like, wait a minute, they lying to me. What can I eat? So we just hang out and we'll just keep discussing those things. Let me see. Your money, your choice. That's right. You do get to choose.
You get to choose. I mean, I feel like that for everything, right? Your money, your choice, right? You get to choose. There's so many things that we get up every day and we get to make a choice about. And just talking about how we all, we all talked about the same thing. None of us hop out of bed, right, in the morning. And so I'm gonna say this, right? I'm gonna say it because we're believers, right? There's some people that may not believe what we believe, but whatever you believe in, it's important to take some time to quiet your mind. And to get in tune with something else that's greater than yourself. Right? For us, is God. Right? For someone else, it will be something else. But I truly believe it is important for you to quiet your mind and get in tune with something else, because everything we're talking about begins up here.
Yep, that's right. It's mindset. So earlier I mentioned lifespan and health span. One very important topic for everyone with a pulse is metabolic health. There are 5 pillars to metabolic health: healthy eating, daily movement, stress management, smart supplementation, and that's a whole conversation by itself, and healthy connections with others. According to the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, less than 7% of American adults have healthy, optimal cardiometabolic health. Less than 7%. So 17 areas impact metabolic health. And I felt this was important enough to share so that we kind of get an idea of where we need to focus. Okay.
I mean, but it's true, because if you I think for most people who take those tests that tell you like what age you're this age, but actually in health you're that age.
Yes.
And you see that, okay, I'm 50, but actually I'm 60.
Yes.
Right? Health wise.
This is what impacts it. So your appetite, these are all part of metabolic health. Appetite, aging of cells, blood sugar, brain health, cardiac health, lipids, which is cholesterol, energy, hair, immunity, joints, metabolism, nails, muscle performance and tone, muscle recovery, skin, sleep, stress, and weight. 17 pieces to metabolic health. You can see why it's so huge and why less than 7% have an optimal level of cardiometabolic health. But I wanted to share that with you and ask, just pick one area under metabolic health. What is it? And how do you think you're going to change the degree to which it's impacted by what you're doing today? Because we can remember, small changes lead us to better outcomes. Changing today, 1 year down the road, look how much better you'll be, right? And so
Well, we all know my choice, so I don't have to say it.
You can tell those that just joined.
It's sleep.
Sleep. Okay.
I really do have to be better at the amount of sleep that I get. Like I literally get on average 5 hours of sleep a night, which is not good
Right.
at all.
Right. But you have an idea. If you want strategies and support on how to make it better, we talked about that a little bit last week, which is great because we're coming back around to it full
Yeah.
circle.
Yep. Yep, because we got like 4 minutes, but we're gonna go over it because this topic is you know I love talking about this stuff. I'm just gonna say it, like I think when I first started my healthy journey, like it's a topic for me that I can talk about. We're not,
it impacts all of us.
We're gonna be mindful of people's time, but if we go over, people will understand.
Which one, Sheila and Regina, which one is going to be your one?
Mine is going to be exercise, because I know that if I start my exercise journey and start it off slow and build my way up, then I'll start seeing the results, because that will give me energy. That will allow me to sleep better.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Which will keep me focused on what I am putting in my body, which will allow me to see some muscle tone that I swear ran away from me a long time ago with my waistline. And the muscle tone took my waistline, and they done went on vacation, and they've been on vacation for a long time. I want to join them. So
but I'll do this at the end, but honestly, we should talk about how to really set those goals and stick to them.
Yes, and be accountable for it, because I leave it up to my own devices. Look, you don't have to tell me to get up and go to work. You don't have to tell me to pay my bills. You don't have to tell me to go shower and brush my teeth.
Right.
But ask me if I exercise today. So yes, I know I definitely need accountability partner, but that's the biggest thing for me. And I know that would help improve my overall health picture.
For sure. Regina?
Say it again, like
So there's appetite, blood sugar, brain health, cardio health, lipids, which is cholesterol, energy, hair, immunity, joints, metabolism, nails, muscles, skin, sleep, stress, and weight.
Yeah, working on several of them. So let me probably, I don't stress as much because I'm in therapy. Maybe sleep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sleep, that's a hot topic. Definitely a hot topic, and it's rightly so, right?
Yeah,
so
toss and turn and
so
we talked about getting up in the middle of the night.
Yeah, that part. So spend 15 minutes a day addressing that concern, whether learning a new way, learning or spending time figuring out what you're going to do next, planning out what you're going to do next. Spend 15 minutes a day on that thing. Actually doing it or planning for it. That's a small snippet of your day.
I mean, but I think that's important, right? Because I think the coaching is going to come out, right? So most of us, that have worked in the corporate world or worked anywhere, right? We've heard of SMART goals, right?
Yep.
And so I actually have devised that for my clients, right? It's a free ebook, right? That talks about how do you set SMART goals. You have to be specific, they have to be measurable, right? They have to be attainable, they have to be realistic.
Yep.
They have to be time bound.
Yep.
Right. So like using Sheila's example of walking as a perfect example, right? If you are someone that doesn't walk now, right? Don't say I'm just gonna start walking, right? That goal is so broad and no goals are tied to it that most likely you're not gonna be consistent, right? So you have to say, all right, I'm going to start walking and be specific. I'm going to start walking 3 days a week, right? And then, you know, is that, you got to think about, is that attainable and is that realistic? Because
Right.
if 3 days a week isn't attainable or realistic, maybe you pick 2 days a week, right? And so once you get your specific and you make sure it's attainable and it's realistic for you, you then have to say, okay, how much time am I going to spend doing that? Am I going to start out, like you just said, Netta, am I going to start out 10 minutes? I'm going to walk 3 days a week, 10 minutes a day, right? On those 3 days, right? For X amount of time, right? And by 30 days, I will be up to 20 minutes, right? So it's setting those realistic goals, which help you, those SMART goals, which will help you be consistent, but also realistic about what you're able to do. All right, Karen has another question for us. How do you ladies balance 7 days a week across cardio, stretching, strength, and toning?
That's good. Anybody have a response?
I know. Yeah, so I literally, so I love to spin, right? So that's really my exercise of choice. But what I've started to do is, so I stretch every day. Like I think after, and usually it's better to stretch after your muscles are warm, right? So after any workout I stretch. So that's how I get it in. And it could be a 5-minute stretch or a 10-minute stretch. But I actually just visited this past weekend this place called the Stretch Lab. They stretch you for like 50 minutes, right? So I would say, Karen, for me, I literally probably get cardio in as far as riding, spinning. I would say at least 4 days, probably like 4 days a week, right? Because remember, I work out at least 6 days a week. On those other days that I don't spin, I walk for cardio. So I do lighter cardio and heavier strength workouts. And on the days that I spin, I usually would throw in like a 10-minute upper body, lower body, or core. So I will choose one of those body parts. So that's how I'm able to get in my cardio, my strength, my toning, because I kind of measure out the time, what I'm going to do on each day. So on the days that I spin, and I usually spin at minimum 30 minutes, sometimes a little more. But if I do like a 30-minute spin class, I'm guaranteed to do probably a 10-minute upper body or lower body following that. And then I end with stretching, and then I usually throw in some meditation.
That's good. For me, I would say HIIT workouts, full body, 3 days a week. And then those other ones, you can choose whether you're just going to do cardio, a mix of cardio and strength, but stretching should be part of every day.
Yeah.
Just because we carry so much tension in our bodies, you got to release that. When you do it first thing in the morning, it's super helpful. There are some very easy 5-minute stretch videos on YouTube that you can do. And as a matter of fact, with those of us who work at desks most of the day, one of the strategies that I teach is 5 minutes at the top of the hour. You're drinking a glass of water and you're walking for 5 minutes. So you can be drinking your water and walking. So just something during that work day. We don't want blood clots forming, all of those things that happen because we're not moving the way we should. And I want to throw in really quickly, we talked about putting things in us. But it's so, and just as important about what we put on us. With your skin being your largest organ, you're putting what goes on you goes in you. And there was an article that I read that stated, and it was from Harvard, women in the U.S. every day put an average of 170 chemicals in the products that we use just in the morning.
All right. So next week, I think we got to talk about what we put on our body.
We can talk about that too. But just want to throw that out there. It's multifaceted. It's not just what's going in you. It's what's going on you.
It's true. I just switched to using a natural deodorant. Right. Because I just, and that was a hard, right? Because
Right.
in my mind right now, oh my God, I can't. But I do recognize, right, the difference, right, in not putting that deodorant that has what they call the aluminum
Yes.
and paragon in on me. But also as far as my body, I literally, that's another place of investment. I invest in, like what Sheila was saying, in natural products that are made. Like I have a friend who makes body butters, natural body butters. So I invest, like I buy products from her. I've found other places now that I'm in North Carolina as well to get natural body butters that people are actually making, and it's not a lot of extra stuff in them.
Yeah, we could definitely talk about that because the base that they use, you need to make sure that's clean.
Yeah.
Because where they're getting it from does matter. So natural is just a blanket word that a lot of people plaster on their products. So it's, again, that's a whole.
That's another. Yep. Listen, Penny agrees with me. Penny agrees that next week, that's a good topic. What are we putting on our bodies?
Yep. Absolutely.
That's an excellent topic.
Yeah. I just usually just put water on my face and just cleanse it with just warm water.
But that's another area of investment, right? How many of us invest in facials? How many of us invest in massages?
Right.
So we can even get on the topic of self-care.
Right.
Right. Like the temperature of the water makes a difference.
Exactly. Like people take these hot showers. That's not good for your body.
Right.
Cold water actually is good for some of the healing properties in your
showers, cold showers.
Yeah.
Sure.
Wow. All right, ladies. So we are at 9:07. We're a little bit over, but that's all good. It's a really good topic. Thank everyone that joined and that asked questions and commented. And so we're gonna end how we normally end, with our final thoughts. But I think we probably all gave our final thoughts.
Yeah, I think we did.
But I think so what we'll end with tonight is, because we did set a challenge from last week, right? So I'll just say on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being not so good and 10 being great, how well did we do with the sleeping challenge? And I would say I probably would fall on a scale of a 4.
I would say for me, I would I'm putting myself at a 5. I still haven't managed to turn the TV off, but once I laid down, I did put the phone away, and I did find that I was able to sleep longer. I'm just like with Theo. I can get, for me, 5 to 6 hours at max, and I go to bed later so that I can try to sleep in. But putting the phone away, again, quieted the mind, right? My quieting of the mind was just scrolling mindlessly through videos and reels and stuff, but actually putting it away helped tremendously.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah, for me, I would say the phone away, not the sleep part. The phone away was like an 8. You know why? Because not only did I put the phone away at night, I paid no attention to the phone throughout the day. And
that is great.
And I'm like, wow. And I had like 500 emails. I was like, oh my God, when was the last time I looked at my and I had messages that I hadn't even paid attention to. So I was like, wow, this thing really did work, and I wasn't really trying to do it that long, but and then I picked up, I don't want to go on, but I picked up my phone for a minute today because I was looking for something and I had to get on my phone. And then I saw this noise about Rihanna. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, mind your own business. Like, what does that have to do with anything? And I said, see, this is why. This is why.
But I'm glad you said that, because I actually use my smartphone to help with that. Like I have do not disturb on my phone from like 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning.
But the sleep part, I probably did about, I guess, a 5 or 4 between. But
I'd say I'm a 7.
mhm,
Definitely room for improvement,
mhm.
but not the way it used to be. So
Mhm.
I'm going to celebrate the small wins.
Mm-hmm.
That phone was a big win for me. I was like,
But that's what's important, right? Celebrate the small wins, right? I think for each of us, even though I gave myself a 4,
mhm,
I was like more mindful of
Mm,
the time I was getting in bed, not turning on the TV,
mhm,
right? And so I think that's important. But another quick tip before we end, I'm going to say to people to not go to bed with a lot of things on your mind.
mhm,
Keep a journal by your bed
yes.
and just write out anything that's in your head so you can get it out
Yes.
so that you're able to rest well.
mhm,
Because a lot of times that's what keeps us up too. Like we got all of this stuff twirling around
Hmm.
mhm.
in our minds that we can't shut it off.
Yes. And the journal versus the notes on your phone.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. An actual pen to paper.
Yes.
Right? Like, because once you pick up that device, you get distracted easily. Trust me, I'm a witness. I
Yes.
can pick
Me
up my
too.
device to do one thing, then next thing you know, I'm on Instagram, then I'm on Facebook, then I'm on YouTube, and that's a wrap. Because
Mhm.
YouTube,
That's how I got distracted, because I was looking for one thing. Like I said, I had to pick up my phone because I was looking for something, and then I hit Facebook. And then I saw that, and I was like, "What the heck?" So I was like, "That's not what I was looking for."
So Netta, what do you have to say before we end? I'll let you end. Then
Well, just be mindful that you are worth the investment.
Right.
Putting money into your well being is not just for you,
Mhm.
it's for everybody connected to you,
Mhm.
Mhm.
especially those that see you as a mentor or you're their mom, their auntie, somebody of influence.
Mhm.
Leave a legacy that you can be absolutely proud of regarding your overall wellness.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So I just want to say, okay, I'm laughing at Charles. I'm sorry.
What is he doing?
Yes, I don't
Oh,
see
look, all I want to know is about that water bill,
He
okay?
said, I'm paying for hot water, so I'm using hot water.
I can't see any of the comments.
Oh, well, but I want to thank each and every one of you for joining. We thank you for joining us, ladies. Thanks for an excellent, great conversation. I look forward to continuing it next week. And, we are the ladies, the Gen X ladies. That's what we call ourselves, right? On the Woman to Woman show on the New You Network. Please, if you have not subscribed to the New You Network, to New You Nation Network, please subscribe. We have other excellent programs that are delivered on the network throughout the week. Our founder, Trey Kearney, has created a platform where she is sharing inspiring, educational, and helpful and real information. And so I will just end how we normally end, which is truth plus
Transparency
equals
equals
healing.
healing.
But I will also say, as you go through the rest of this week, I want you to think about if you're interested or committed. All right. Have a great night, and we'll see
Good
you
night.
Good night.
at 8 p.m.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night.
Bye.